morning, evening. How's everybody doing out there? It's that first Tuesday, and here we are. Today we're going to be talking about some more policies. We haven't touched policies in about 8 months. Well, we did have an FDE ZENcast, but actually the user policies and device policies we covered last June. So thought we might want to touch upon those again and see if you had any questions. I'm excited about being here today and hope that we can assist you and give you some enlightenment on the different types of policies that ZENworks can supply for you in your zone. Next week, sorry, not next week, February 16th, we're going to do some database queries and tips. So we know that there are some things that have changed going from 17 to 2020. The Sybase embedded moved to Postgres. How do you get to it? What tools do you use? What queries can we do on the database? And so we're going to cover those areas next time. So that's in 2 weeks. So I look forward to that as well. But I appreciate you being here this morning and touching base with us. And today's PowerPoint, you can download it. And if you're in chat, you'll be able to download it. The nice thing is if you're viewing this, the recording, the chat should be on the right-hand side, and you should be able to just click that link. So even if you missed it in the actual broadcast, you can get that download link. So feel free to go out there and grab that PowerPoint. You can walk along with us or review it later, but at least you'll have the links. So that was a great tip from you guys. Hey, how can we get the links that are in your presentation? So why not just share that with you? So that's what we're doing. Again, we're on the YouTube channel. Micro Focus Support and Training has all of our recordings. And it's the first and third Tuesday of each month at 9 o'clock North American time. So you can always review later, or if you type in !schedule in the chat, you'll be able to see our schedule. So anytime you see in our presentation the exclamation point, you can actually do that particular command. And that brings us to the channel housekeeping tips. So log into YouTube chat. You could join in the conversation. And if you do an @ with the name, you can actually direct message that particular person. So you can DM them. The exclamation point with the commands, like you saw with the PPTX or the schedule, is easy to do. And then recommend autoplay off and your quality 720/60. So just to let you know, that's the best way we've seen it come through. Subscribe and notifications. So do subscribe to the channel if you get a chance and you like it. Also put likes on the particular recordings, and you'll also get notifications when we go live, either via Twitter or in my Twitter's at PF Pedron, or via YouTube. If you're logged into YouTube, it'll automatically send you a notification when we go live, and we go live about 20 minutes early, so everybody can get their things together and be ready for us at the top of the hour. So I just wanted to do some house cleaning tips there, and of course the links and presentation PDF recording description, you can just do the !PPTX and download that from my storage source. Okay, we're almost at a year, guys. It's been March last year when we started this, and I'm just really excited that we've gotten a lot of support from management, from the other PMs, and from engineers, and they've come aboard and been on some ZENcast with us, giving you some detailed explanations. This is our schedule coming up. Today we're doing user and device policies, and we're doing database access queries next time. In March, we're going to do some more desktop containers and admin studios. We didn't get to admin studio last time. And then ZCM inventory and reporting, imaging and WinPE, ZSD install and config, ZCM install and config, and ZCM mobile management. Now, I threw those install and configs because that's really broad, right? But I do know that Service Desk 8.2.1 is coming out, and I know that Update 2 is coming out for ZCM. So These are subject to change. If something gets released and we want to get the what's new out to you right away, we may have Jason on or something, or Vikram, to tell you the what's new about the product and cover that area. So uh, these are pretty well, at least you can expect these unless we have a special release. So I hope that's helpful for you planning the future of viewing the ZENcast. And we appreciate you being here. So some micro focus changes. Anybody notice anything with the portal? Yes, I know. I know. I know. I know. I know. It's painful. We're doing everything we can. We have, SRs equal cases now, but you got to try and log in. We've had some issues when we first went live. Terrible, terrible issues. And they've been working around the clock to get some of those fixed. We're starting to get a hold on some of the things that were left out, but we had so many um, different integrations of acquisitions and systems that they're trying to put into one single that there are a few things that we're having a hard time with. So I just want you to know that we're doing everything we can. You can contact me or you can contact customer care at Microfocus and work on those issues. But the SR service requests that we used to call them are now cases. Um, and if you do, you'll get all the interchange will be through the case. Okay. You can email directly if you need to, and sometimes our technicians will do that. But don't remove the reference code in the subject line if it's there. That's what connects it to the case. It's not the case number. It's a reference code. That's really an odd code off to the end. So if you haven't seen it yet, you'll see it when you place a service call. And go out there and try and log into the portal, even if you're not needing to go out there right now. The reason why is we don't want you in the middle of an update and now you can't log in. We want to make sure that you have what you need and you can access those resources that you're supposed to have. Download licenses, download entitlements, products. We've had issues with all of these with some customers, and um, we've been working through them the best we can. So I appreciate you guys' patience and being able to work with us on that. It's been a huge undertaking, and they went live um, uh, the 2 weeks ago. So um, there is a YouTube um, out there, and that's this link here. And it moved over to this screen. Let me dodge it over to your side. Hang on a second. Let me move it over to yours. So it has different things like the portal login, the licenses download, um, the permissions access, and so forth. So there's a series of videos on how to get to your particular portal, and I hope that that's helpful for you. It's in the link of this presentation. Feel free to use it. It'll at least give you an idea of how to navigate through the new portal. Okay. All right. So let's go some of the latest for ZCM Suite. We're on 2020 Update 1. Update 2 is coming out soon. We're going to have some new feature sets in it. We're going to have some changes in it. So, there's an Update 2 Alpha 1 if you wanted to download it and play with it. There will be a Webinars 2020 Update 2 that we'll put on for when Update 2 comes out on what's new and what are the different feature sets and what are we moving to and those types of things. So be waiting for that. I did check the Appliance Online update. Remember, it's coming out February and May. They're doing a 3 month cadence. And I did check this morning, and February's isn't out yet. And I really didn't expect it to be, because normally it comes out, a week to 2 weeks after the beginning of the month. So be lookout for that, though. The Appliance Online updates for Service Desk, ZRS, and ZCM. If you have an appliance, the online update security patches will be coming out. Okay, patches vulnerabilities and stuff. ZCM, Z News is back, as we've mentioned before. And I think if we close this and open this, and we can see that the Z News is down here. And there's still, are you a Zen guru and interested in telling others how great ZENworks is? Take that survey. It's for the Gartner Peer Insights, and I also have that on my presentation as well, so you won't miss it. Imaging driver updates was November 2020. I haven't heard when the next release will be, but that's the latest imaging driver update. And don't forget about Patch Finder. Great resource to be able to get your patches for whatever version you're looking at. So if you're looking at ZENworks Configuration Management and you're looking for update 20, update 1, or let's say we're looking at just 2020, you'll see that update 1 is there. And then the PRUs and so forth. So that's a great resource. Keep that in mind. OWS, we covered this the last 2 times. You can get an extension for ZENworks so that you basically have the suite. So there's an additional cost, but you can actually get desktop containers, asset management, full disk encryption, service desk standard edition, a couple licenses, and a discount on patch management. So you can feel free to go to, again, the ZENworks tips and information, and you'll see that information out there on how to do that. You'll contact your rep. Okay. Desktop containers is on 20.11, just released actually a week or 2 ago. Includes Turbo Hub and streaming to at-home users, so really is great. I hope to have a webinar on that. There was a on-demand webinar you can go to here, but I hope to have a ZENcast on that as well. We had one earlier with Jason, and I hope we have another one. ZPM, we covered ZPM last week. Sorry, last time. And so these are some, remember, Patch Tuesday highlights is out there. February should be released at any time. Darren's real good about getting those out within the first week or so. And then deploy, well, actually, it waits until he gets the information that what Microsoft is going to deploy. So that's Patch Tuesday, right? So after that, he'll get that. And then deploying Windows 10 feature updates via ZENworks Patch Management, and then ZENworks Patch Management Story, how Meyer integrated the software delivery into the pipeline. Okay, a couple of links there. Service Desk, we're on 8.2. Again, appliance online updates, security patches come out February. Keep a lookout for them. If you want to see a nice video on or a presentation on ZENworks Service Desk, ticketing management, and enterprise store, there's your link for that. Okay. ZRS 7.2, again, appliance online updates come out in February, and ZMM support ended for ZENworks Mobile Management, the legacy product, not ZCM Mobile, but ZMM, ended December 2020. So if you need help moving off of that, please contact us so that we can help navigate you through that, or contact your rep to do that. Because ZENworks ZMM was a separate purchase, and we've since integrated mobile management into ZCM, and now it's just another device that you add, and it's all in one pane, so it works out real well. ZENworks Asset Management for education. There's a nice article about that. How education, we were noted in Gartner Peer Insights for education using ZAM. Then some events, some new events coming out. The last one, February 11th, you can register for Enterprise File Sync and Share. Now that's EU time, so that's European Union. It's over there, so it's going to be for North America. It's a different time zone, so it's normally in the evening for us. Also, Micro Focus Universe 2021 is coming up, March 23rd through the 25th. You can register for that. And then Micro Focus On Demand webinars are there. You can see the Micro Focus events. I'll go ahead and go to that. You see Micro Focus events, and then you have on demand webinars here. So you can see what's been going on in certain spaces. All right. We had a ZENworks desktop containers and connected backup that Ron Van Herk did. excellent webinar. You can get to it there, a deep dive in Service Desk, and then Open Horizon Virtual Summit. You can browse through their listings and actually see the different presentations that were presented at Open Horizons, okay, which was November. Surveys, again, you saw on the ZENworks and Z News, go to the Gartner Peer Insights and tell everybody about ZENworks and how you use it in your environment. This helps us get the word out about ZENworks and understanding of what you use it for. Also, ZENcast Progress Survey, I put this out here. It's been out there a couple months now, but this is where I get information from you on what you'd like to see. Since you are the viewers of this channel, I'd like to focus on what you're looking for in this particular forum. So please please go ahead and fill that out. That would be very helpful to me. And then there's articles. IDC MarketScape. Micro Focus is a major player for unified endpoint management. So this is a major step for us. It's a big, we're on the spotlight, and I think it's a great article that Nick put out there. And you can read further through the IDC report. But we're mentioned and focused on, and I think it's great that we're moving into that space, the unified endpoint management space, and being recognized as a product that does some great work. So go out to that article, check it out. I think it's a nice read. So today we're covering some policies, and we're going to recap a little bit about patch management. I had an isolated zone last time, and remember, air gap zone is one that's isolated from everything. It's off the grid, right? So on the left you have a collector zone which talks to the internet. Then you download the patches, and you have some portable media that you move it over to the air gap zone so that you can patch your devices. Of course, the devices that are in your air gap zone should also be represented in the ZENworks management zone that collects, so that it knows what to collect. Now, last week it did pull in my air gap. I copied it down. The problem was I never scanned first, which we discussed during that interview. I had some experts on that helped me out, and had I scanned first, it would have said, "Oh yeah, you got those machines. Let's bring those in." So that's just a little recap of what we have. And I shifted zones at the last minute, and so I followed it to the letter and had it working, and then I reverted and then had a problem with space, and so then I moved to another zone at the last minute. So I didn't follow the document to the letter the second time around. So I'm just not smarter than that document. I just know that much. So anyway, so be aware that the air gap zone is there, and you can patch in the zone. And basically your collector, which Susan mentioned, the collector is basically a tool just to retrieve all the patches. Once you have it retrieved, you put it in the production zone, which is the air gap zone. I was doing it a little bit differently. ZENworks community, some great stuff. I appreciate you guys putting some stuff out there. We're talking management policies and stuff. There's an encrypted remote management without SSL certificate article out there. Craig's been out there like crazy answering questions. We have engineers, we have third parties, we have partners and consultants that are out there answering questions. If you know Craig, he's on my team for the ZENworks backline support. So, but there's some great knowledge out here. I want to put this in because I think you guys are doing a fantastic job getting this information to everybody else, because this is great discussion that we need to have, and it's in the ZENworks community. You can see up here, collaboration, ZENworks endpoint security management, ZESM user discussions for this one, MS data encryption policy, controlling access, and somebody had an issue, put it out there, it went straight to the solution from a partner. So we really appreciate everybody that's contributing and even asking questions. Effects of enabling endpoint management. Great article out here. Have a solution there for it if you're running into that particular or thinking about doing it or want to know more about it. You know, go out to our forums page, our community page, and you can get some great information out here. This one's the application control policy whitelist. Okay, and then troubleshooting the firewall. So, because we have a firewall policy as well. So we appreciate everybody that's contributed either in questions or in just likes or responses. I mean, this is just how the community should work. So I appreciate that. Let's get into policies. So we had one policy, ZCM Policies June 2020. So it's about 8 months ago. If you download my presentation, you'll get that link to the ZENcast Live. And then this PowerPoint is also here. Again, I'll go ahead and put in the exclamation PPTX, and that should give you in your chat the link to this presentation here. A couple things to discuss about, and we discussed some of this is overlap from last time, right? But we're going to talk about a few different policies. But global policies like a default location assignment policies, if you're using locations, you'd want to use this. Remote management policy is really good. We actually had a few remote management policies because of the level of security that we had at my previous employer. We would have some investigations going on because there was a police department involved, and we would need to basically do the auditing on remote management and who's doing what on machines. And so we'd have a policy that would basically view users, not only just for training, right? You can do it for training, but also for investigation work. But you have a primary management policy that, you know, user has an issue, you remote control them so that you can do what you need to do. And of course, you can do file transfer, you can do remote execute, and those types of things as well. ZENworks branding policy, we covered that a little bit last time. I'll show you it again today. And then the ZENworks Explorer config policy, which is, you know, actually how the ZENworks Explorer works. And do you want it in your file explorer to show up or not, or those types of things. What's the naming of it? Those are some of the issues. And then the bookmark policy. If you haven't tried the bookmark policy, it was one of our, I think it was great because we'd have a major system change on the back end and the URL would change. And all we had to do was change it in the ZENworks bookmark policy. And that morning, when the users came in and logged in, they had the right bookmark. So we use bookmark policies for departments and for enterprise. And then I used it for my private stuff as far as my personal stuff when I'm working, if I need to go out to TIDS and those types of things. So it really works out well. Some of the common ones are the DLU policy and the local file rights policy. So you can actually set local file rights on the desktop for certain users. Maybe you're doing a training session. You want to lock things down so they don't get distracted, or you have a DLU policy where you need to automatically create that user ID on the box. Of course, test in a separate zone. Then you can also test in production using the sandbox with device and or user and test. So it's interesting that some people, I had a call the other day wondering about the test. And for every user, here's my zone here, users. I got a couple users on here. And if we go to users, you can see there's a test user you can set. So anytime your policy or your bundle is in sandbox mode and it's associated to this user, they can then test it out. Okay. Or and then same with your devices. If you go to devices, we go to what we're using today, we can always set it in test mode. So if I set this one in test mode, this is the Win7. I set this in test mode. If we back out, you can actually see there's a little arrow, yellow arrow at the top of that. Let me get that a little bigger for you. Sorry about that. So that means it's in test mode. Okay. And I think you can actually move it in and out of test mode. Yeah, set as non-test. Okay, so now it's no longer a test, so it won't pick up the sandbox. But utilize that function because you don't want it to go to everybody until you know that it's working in your production environment properly, right? So that works quite well. That's for users. So I didn't show you the users. Probably don't need to, but let's go back over to Roadrunner and let's go set. And once he's set, if we go out, we can see the arrow on him as well. Okay. And you can actually do I'm going to go down. You can do, I think we can go here and say test status yes, and see which ones were or were not in test mode. Okay. Let's go back over here. Oh, I probably should have sorted this. I should have filtered this a little bit differently. There, Roadrunner's the only thing that's showing up. And I should just do user and search, and there he is. So you can see which ones are left. You don't want to leave them there all the time because maybe this is, you know, somebody in a particular department that's one of your people that tests things out. And if they're not removed from test and you're starting to do some other practices with that bundle before you send it to them, they're going to start getting that as well. So um, know that you want to move them in and out of test as needed. Okay. Let's go and see what we have here. Okay. So I put some policy references in here. ZENworks Configuration Management has policies, and then ZENworks Endpoint Security Management has policies. So there's your two references. There's troubleshooting. Don't forget about the troubleshooting. So you got your reference guides, which are, it does that. Let me move this back over here. Oh, that's because I closed it out, didn't I? All right. And then you have your ZENworks Endpoint Security, which are different sets of policies. Don't forget about the troubleshooting. If you're having a problem with particular troubleshooting, bookmark policy errors, you got dynamic local users, so they cover, double check here to see if you have settings, because some of these require registry keys. Okay, so if you're doing policies, look into it. It should tell you that it's using registry keys, and we'll get to the registry key link in just a minute, but some of them will be using registry keys, so you have to have some settings there for it to be effective. Okay. Okay, so for instance, this DLU has a registry key. You can create, if you're doing something like this, this is obviously best practices. Okay. So some of the things you should ask yourself before going into the policy is, what is the goal? What is the issue? How do we achieve the goal? What are the dependencies? Who's allowed? Is it time sensitive? And finally, is it achieved? Because sometimes when it's going to be a staged approach getting to the final destination, as we know, these things just evolve. But you can allow your system or machine or users or device on certain things. There are those settings. There's dependencies in the zone, and it is dependent on the zone and the agent version. Just because you're at 2020 update 1, my Windows 7 box, which is restricted to 2017 because it doesn't go beyond that, will not have the feature set beyond what its agent knows about. Make sense? So if I have a Windows 10 that has 17 on it, it can only go so far. If I'm trying to do a recent new policy, it won't be effective because it doesn't know about it. The agent doesn't know how to process it. But as soon as you upgrade it to the latest, then it's all talking the same. All right. Hang on a second. All right. So there's policy enforcement. Again, review the documentation for the various policies, define the issue, understand the consequences of mixing policies and which one goes first and how they're layered. Closest to the object takes precedence. Okay? And what I mean by that is if I go back over here, if we have a policy assignment at Roadrunner, which we don't, oh, let's see, user, let's go here. I thought he was here. There he is. I thought we did. Oh, but we have inherited. There we go. So if I had a different ZENcast branding policy that was directly assigned here, it'll take precedence over this one. But then also things like the ZENcast branding policy or the ZENworks configuration Zen Explorer policy has inherited settings too. So if it's not set, it'll inherit from something that's up the chain, which is this one is up the chain from, this is a group and this is a folder. Okay, so that one's applied to a folder, and that one's applied to a folder, and that one's applied to a group. So if we went to the group, we could see it's applied here, right? Directly assigned to this group. And then if we went to details on here, we could see it's directly assigned to this folder. So again, closest to the object, if you're logging in as Roadrunner, the closest will win and take precedence. So you do need to know your precedence and your order, and mixing them. Okay, and why? And then again, use that test, right? Make sure you're testing and use the user as a test in your production environment. Also understand if you create a group policy that says remove the desktop and you don't have some policy that you can apply to it to return the desktop, maybe the start menu or something, then you may get stuck to where you have to reimage the device, right? If you get to a point you want to be able to, or if you're setting up a kiosk, for instance, you want to be able to reverse that kiosk so you can do adjustments and then enable that kiosk again. We had some kiosks that were public facing that only needed to do applications for this agency, and so they could walk in and they can actually fill out an application online because they may not have the resources at home. Well, we needed to lock that down. But if we didn't have a way to unlock that so that we can make more adjustments or update the agent or whatever, then we'd be stuck, right? So trust me, did it more than once. Yeah, needed to reimage, and then you go back into your policy and have something that you can reverse it. Okay. And then, of course, user precedence, device only, and user only. So remember we have the different things in the registry: HQ local machine, current user, local user. So what are you doing? And then of course the policies immediately on all assigned devices is another checkbox to go do it now, right? Okay. So on all the policies, if you were to go under general, you'd be able to see the ZENworks end user branding policy. So if we go under policies, I think I put it under ZENcast. And you know, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this and this, and we'll skip over to the other. I was looking at the end user branding policy. I actually put that in global. So there's an enterprise branding and a ZENcast branding. So what you could do is you could say if this one, let's see where this one's applied to. This is to all workstations. And then what did I apply this one to? This one is just to a certain set of users, which are my technicians. Okay, so it'll change the desktop or change the branding so that I can easily know, oh, I'm logged in as, my technician. But that policy is really nice. The details. So, I customized ZENcast Corp threw something in there, grabbed an image for a background. You could do color background and so forth. You can change your display size for your icons. So you can go medium or large, right? Which fills up the screen. But if you only have a few, it might be easier for your folks to have that. So, and that's the bundles. When we look at our devices, now I logged into the local device. Now I'm going to log in as Roadrunner for ZENworks. That's another thing to remember. If you have technicians going out there and they don't have to, if they just need the ZENworks stuff, an install or something, all they have to do is log in as the log into the ZENworks, log the user out of ZENworks, keeping the user up, log into ZENworks via the icon, and it'll come up here in a sec. You're all familiar with the icon over here. You can always sign out. And so if I go to, if I just select the icon, okay, so you can see that's different than the airport, right? This is my technicians because I'm logged in as Roadrunner. But should I go and sign out, and then I close this, I can actually, should revert back. Yep, see there it is there. Notice these are small, right? Um, so let's go back over to here and let's make these large. Apply. Now we're going to need to publish. Nice thing about publishing is you can publish as a new policy, so you can almost clone policies and then modify them, or you can publish as a new version. And we're going to go ahead and hit finish. Now we're at policy version 2. Okay. And if we were to go back over to this guy and we're to refresh, it should make those bigger for us, easier to see. Okay. Now the ZENworks Explorer policy controls some of these things, right? What's displayed? Is the all folder displayed? Can you do favorites? Can you move this bundle? For instance, can I set this to desktop? Okay, there it goes. There, it's on the desktop now. When you do those things, you can also clean up the user settings, which should remove whatever you've done. It has a little cache folder. Okay. And that's on this box. If you were to log in somewhere else, you'd have to set those again. So normally you have a single user. It automatically logs in as a user across ZENworks and the local machine or the domain. And if you start setting those things, that's fine. It'll retain that. But if they also have a laptop, they'll have to do it on the laptop as well. Make sense? Okay. So that's the branding policy. Linux has some too. It has an external services policy and a puppet policy. And I didn't get my Linux up in time to show you that, so I apologize for that. And I don't have the mobiles up in this environment. I hope to have another mobiles, as you saw on the schedule, covering mobiles some more later down the road. But it also has Android policies. There's the Android Intune. They have the enrollment. They have the mobile compliance, device control, security policies. There's some real intricate policies in there. that are pretty interesting, actually. If we go to Policies ZENcast and we do a new policy, we'll go mobile, and we'll go, what was the general again? General policies, yeah. So you have an enrollment policy for general devices, then you have security policy. Let's go. And then you could say, is it a corporate or is it for corporate and personal levels, right? So you set these up, and this was Vikram talked about this in our mobile ZENcast about 6 months ago. But we'll have another one coming up soon. So how strict are you if it's a device? Now, if it's your personal device, you don't want a lot of things because you want to keep them separate, right? Um, but as you create a policy for mobile iOS into, now I don't have this set up. Wonder how far I'm going to get on this. All devices. Oh, yeah. See, I haven't configured the zone for these yet. But there's a lot of details on syncing up and those types of things for the mobiles themselves. They've done a great job getting the mobile in the system. So we'll move over to moving past mobiles. And then we got Windows. We got Windows configuration, we got endpoint security, and we got full disk encryption. Now, ZCM has Windows configuration policies, which are very common known policies. If you purchase the suite or endpoint security policies, you now have more details of locations, Wi-Fi, firewall, and then full disk encryption comes with that. Um, so those get very detailed as well. So if we do a policy and we go to Windows and we go to endpoint security, you can see the amount of different policies we have here, and these are more specific to communication and very detailed because it uses another set of drivers for these policies to make it faster, to make it more streamlined and detailed. Um, there's one thing going out to an IP address, and there's another thing going to see if that IP address has a port open, right? That's the differences in, if you can kind of look at it that way, um, about the ZCM and ZESM policies, and what ZESM brings to it, more granular. Okay. So we have Windows. This is the different policies here. Um, browser bookmarks, dynamic local user, local file rights, file management, printer and iPrint, policies, remote management, roaming profile. And Louis, if you're out there, I'm still working. I still have the details of what you're asking about with your policy, so I'll be looking into that. Roaming profiles, Windows group policies, which I think we're going to do a little bit of today, and ZENworks Explorer, which we'll do as well. There are some ZESM policy application control. Maybe you don't want, somebody pressing on this particular exe. You can set it up that it's basically blacklisted. Communication hardware and what it's using, data encryption, firewall. Some of the common zone ones are the remote management, the bookmarks, location assignment if you're using ZESM because you want to be able to get granular. Remote management is a very common one as well. So those are the different policies, and then we're going to have malware, right? We're going to have a whole new set, another component of ZENworks, like patches as anti-malware, and that's an update too. So coming soon. So Windows Policies ZCM Policies is part of ZCM. It uses the OS drivers, and it's detail controlled. ZESM is a part of ZCM Suite or add-on ZESM, right? Has disk encryption policies, has additional drivers, utilizes locations if you choose to, and additional detail control. I mean, very, very specific control. So, test so yeah, so basically what you want to do when you're deploying a policy, identify the steps experienced deploying in your test environment. Then you'll move it to the production environment and be able to run it in test mode for that user or that device. Review the documents and TIDs, obviously the system requirements, and make sure, if you have a zone that you haven't updated everybody to 20 update 1, which has a particular feature in it for a policy, if they're still on 2020 or 17, they won't, and it's not working. You put it in test zone, it's not working and stuff. It's you have to have the agent at that level. Okay, policy dependencies. So, accordance to the corporate policy, you have security policies. You might have to run it past your security officer. I don't, I don't want to. I want to make sure they're included so that you have all your practices in place. Policy configuration for Zen policy, other policies like GPOs, firewalls. So what are those configurations so you know what it's going to walk on and what it's not going to walk on. And then there are some registry keys also, like for GPOs, reapply policy at device startup, reapply policy at user desktop, pre-desktop, those types of things. And dependencies completed to all zone components, ZENworks agent at the proper level, as I mentioned, and device support the policy. So does that device, Windows 7 won't support any 2020 new feature sets because it has to stay on 2017. Okay, so just a few tidbits there. We talked a little bit about precedents, but again, user, device, overrides and ignores, examples, Microsoft GPO, applied until changes, and then Zen GPO, remove it, log off, shut down, etc. Those different commands, they may overlap, and if they do log out and the user logs back in, it will be reapplied. So you have the MS GPO, and then you have the ZENworks GPO as another layer, and then if they log off, it's going to be reapplied to the MS GPO, and if that same user logs in, obviously the same Zen GPO. But know about the precedents, which we talked a little bit earlier on. And that's in the wizard. So if we were to go, when you say I want to assign, let's go DLU policy, and we're going to assign the policy to a user, and we go ahead and pick a user, Fred, right? This is step 1. So let me make this bigger for you. Step 1, users to be assigned, and then step 2 is, that's just finished for that particular policy. There's no enforcement. Sorry. Let's go to, I believe remote will assign policy to device workstations. We'll say those devices. So here's your precedence here. So when you see the precedence on my slide, it's referring to the wizard of deploying that particular policy. Okay, how would the policy conflicts be resolved? And then do you enforce it? So this is a summary plus do you want to enforce it right now? Okay. What it'll do is it'll then initiate a refresh and push it out. Okay. Any questions from chat as we're going along? Go go ahead and shout out in chat if you're asking any questions. I'm hoping to get through some of this here. Let's go. And then logging. Primary server logs, which are the loader and the services messages. You have some satellite logs. Remember, the satellite is basically ZMD messages logs. If it's a satellite, it would be the ZMD messages log. ZA device logging and debug. Make sure that that's set to debug, and then the ZMD messages log, as I mentioned, on the device itself. There's things like the ZAC info and the GP results, which really helps. So let's go. I think that was my cue to go to the lab. Oh, this is actually ZPM. Yeah, that's my cue to go to the lab. So let's go to the lab. Thank you very much, Mr. Bosch. All right, so let's go to policies, and we have a couple of devices out here. This one is not connected to the domain. All right, so if I look here and we do a who am I? This one is just to the desktop, and he's administrator, and he's sitting here. This one is to the domain. So you're going to see, if I do other user, you'll see we're going into digital air, logged in as Roadrunner. Oh, wrong password. And it should be seamless. It should see Roadrunner as a part of the ZCM configured users and not prompt me for a ZENworks login, right? And we'll wait for the desktop to come up to see that occur. Okay. And then we'll wait for ZENworks to come up. We're going to go over to the one that's not connected, and you'll see that if we're going to log in, sign out, and we're going to log in as administrator, you'll see it'll prompt. You'll say, well, I have users. Are you going to log in as a particular user that I know about? And I could then go to, I think eBrock is one of them. Okay. Now I'm in as administrator or whatever user you decide, but ZENworks, as far as ZENworks is concerned, it knows about this desktop because the agent's on it, but it knows about eBrock in ZENworks. Okay, so it's going to, any user related items like policies and bundles to eBrock or his groups will then be associated. And if we go here, it's not up yet. Let's go. There it goes. We'll give it a second. I haven't done eBrock on this device yet. So you can see eBrock's logged in, and there's bundles. You can see that he is logged in because the sign out is here, right? That's one way to tell. If you go to technician application, you can see that it's a domain user, even though it's a local device, right? All right, and then on the other one, it should have just gone straight on through, and we should see that, oops, oh, go away. We should see that one, sign out is there, so we know he's logged in. If we go to technician, or if we go to here, we could see that he's logged in. All right. We can see what policies are there. The bookmark policies. Let's go here. Sure, restore my last session. So if I look at my favorites, you can see this HR department. That's what I put in there. Okay, technician support. That's what I put in there. All right, so it's integrated in with the browser as it sees the browser. So you can actually have documentation, or we used to do technician tools in this area and giving them links to different help sites or TIDs or downloads or whatever through using this. We also had different departments, HR, fire, police, who wanted their users to go to a particular system that's web-based. We would set these up so that they would go to the, and then we had one enterprise PeopleSoft application that every couple of years we would upgrade, and so we needed a new URL. All I had to do was change the URL in the bookmarks policy. Let's go over to the bookmarks policy and see that. So here's a support one. Details. So here's technician support, and you basically you can add two here, but if you were to select one of them, it'll then give the URL down here. So all we had to do for that PeopleSoft was change it to the new location. We're good, right? ZENworks, you can put in Zen command line switches, right? You can click it and see the details for that. Go back. I didn't really want to do that. But when you're creating, let's say we'll do an edit and we'll create a new, hang on, I need to select a location before I can do new. So I can create a folder or a bookmark. And I could say ZCM 2020 update 1, what's new. And then you could go, I'd have to go find it. Let's go to Z's 2020. What's new? This one. Pull this and go back to here. Oops. Fat fingered that one, sorry. Okay. And then you have a test here if you wanted to test it. Make sure it worked. Obviously, it's not going to work on this one because I have JavaScript disabled. And there it is in the line. And then you can also, you can sort them. Edit, let's move this one up. Or move to this one. If we go here and here, we want to put these under all the ZENworks stuff. So we'll move to, and we'll go to ZENworks. And there they are. Very handy. Very handy. Yeah, you're managing bookmarks, but at least you have your users who's used to just going to the browser, clicking on this one link. It's already changed for them, right? You don't have to send out an email saying you need to change those. Now, those that they did manually, obviously they have to change it. Okay. We'll go ahead and hit apply there. And we'd have to publish, we'd test it, and then we'd publish it. See if it was how we wanted it. Okay. What I'd like to do is go over here and let's open up Firefox. Let's create a GPO policy. Now, some customers have their own GPO people, right? That do the administration of the Active Directory and the GPOs and those types of things. And then some rely on you're managing the desktop, you learn it and take care of it, right? So let's go to HTTPS. Let's go log in. Now what you have to do is you have to find the OS. For instance, this particular OS, or 1909, right? 1909. Okay. So we're going to build a Windows 10 group policy for the 1909 build. Okay. So if we go to yeah, we can remember, that's fine. And we're going to go to Policies. Let me get this a little bigger so you can see. We're going to go to ZENcast, New, Policy. Go Windows. Step 2, it's going to be a configuration policy. And it's going to be a Windows group policy. Now this particular device is not on the domain. So we're going to say Win10 1909 GPO, local GPO. Okay. Next. And you don't have to put anything in the administrator notes. That's just a habit of mine. So at minimum, I have what the title is. Okay. So is it going to be a local group policy or Active Directory group policy? I'm going to say a local group policy. Okay. The other thing is are we going to have it computer and user configuration or just computer? So let's go configure. And I don't think I have the ZCC helper on this device, so we're going to have to install it. We're going to do this too. Since we're in here, we don't need me. There we go. Give it a little more room. Let's expand this a little bit more, give you a little more view. Hope that's better. We're going to download the ZCC, save file. I will now install it. Let's see what it does. In the meantime, I'm going to cancel this. Okay, it's installed. We're going to now configure, and we're going to always choose a ZCC helper when we do that. It'll configure a group policy. Please wait for it to complete before initiating upload. So we're going to wait on this guy. Give it a minute. It's going to open up your local group policy editor. Okay. Now remember I mentioned the computer or the user. Here's a computer or user settings. If I set settings under the computer user configuration and this is not checked, it's going to ignore it, even though it's in the package. Okay. So we can go, what are some things we might want to do here? I didn't think that far ahead. Sorry about that. Let's go to standard. Let's go to, sorry, I didn't plan this one out quite. Here we go, Windows. Camera. We don't have a camera, but what else can we do here? File Explorer. So we can say, oh, there we go. Show sleep and power options menu. Oh, we already have it, no. But we can say yes. Enabled. Apply. Okay. Set a web support link. So let's go enabled. Well, let's not do Google. Let's do microfocus.com. Okay. So we have a support web page link. We have a sleep on power menu. Let's see what else we can do. Let me do this bigger. Why am I squinting? I can't change the view on this one, I don't think. Yeah, I can. Oh, that's ugly. Sorry. Let me do list. Okay, and so, well, let's do show details because then I see if it's enabled. Okay, let's go to OneDrive. Oh, we want to enable that, prevent usage of OneDrive. Enable prevent usage. Prevent usage. So we basically want OneDrive to not work. Disabled. Okay, so we've disabled OneDrive. I should probably be noting this down. Sleep. Okay. Let's see. So if we go to log on options, display, we want to enable that. Let's go ahead and enable that. Windows calendar, turn off calendar. Oh yeah, let's do that. Should be this guy down here. All right. So making note of these, make sure you have another policy that you can reverse them to turn them on, because a lot of times they're not configured, so it'll take whatever was previously set. All right. I don't know if there's much else. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot else, but event log service, event logging. That's on automatically. Oh, the web page link. And that was in the File Explorer. So if we go ahead and, let's see, we should wrap this up real quick. It's been a while since I've been into these. Oh, yeah. Hang on a second. Where is the, just chatting, the password requirements, I'm thinking. And I don't remember exactly where they, probably security. Oh, here we go. Hide firewall and network. All right, let's do that. Hide firewall. So we should be able to see firewall right now. Okay. And we'll see if we can later. If I'm interpreting that right. Notifications. We'll turn off all notifications. Okay. So now we've gone through here. All right. This is still hanging out there waiting to upload, but we haven't compiled it yet. So as soon as we close this, it's going to create those settings. Okay, group policies have been successfully imported. Hit OK. So if you have a lot of things, it may take a minute or two, but then we're going to upload it to ZENworks into this policy. Okay, now we can move on. And that's where we check, I didn't do any user stuff. But we're going to apply all settings, or you can apply security settings or everything but security settings. So we'll just apply all. We'll hit now. And we can create it as a sandbox because we're not done with it yet. Okay. Enforcement after, force a relog on. It has to be, that's 5 minutes. And this is our basic detailed settings for this particular GPO. So we're going to go ahead and relationships. Now the interesting thing is this one's joined to the domain. We can probably apply it to it, but it should work. Workstations, ZENcast. We're going to go to staff. We'll apply it to both. And you'll see that it won't work. And we'll just hit finish. So now one thing to note is if we go over here on this machine, which is Windows 7, and we go to oh, 227. We log in and we go to try to open that GPO file up. Go to Policies, ZENcast, Local. Oh, where did it go? GPO Policies, Windows. This one. And I try to edit this. It will not allow me to because I'm not of the same 1909 structure. Okay. It'll say you're not 1909. It should say you're not 1909. Of course, this is Windows 7. If I had a 1903, I apologize. These are both 1909s. So, oh, wrong password. Fat fingered it. Okay, if we refresh, we should see another policy come in. If I was a 1903 and I tried to open and configure that policy, reconfigure that 1909 policy, it would not allow me to. And did I assign it to, oh, it's not published, publish. Assignment was successful. Finish. That's why it didn't show up, because it wasn't published. Okay, there's our local, successful. All right. Now, it would want us to, typically it wants for GPO to log in again. So we're going to restart this guy. But I didn't apply it to this guy. Let's see if I can apply it to this guy. So all it does is look at this particular guy as a tool to open up the local GPO policy to get the configuration settings. ZENcast, we'll do it to teacher as well. Okay. See where this guy is. Should be coming up. There he is. Now it said File Explorer for the sleep. I'm curious if that's on the start menu or not. I don't think it is. So I don't know if I'm going to find that one. But notifications should be off. Display previous logins. I didn't look for it. I guess I think the Roadrunner would be display previous login, but it was doing that before. So we're just reinforcing that. So each build of your Windows OS, you'll need to, have a new template. So documenting this is pretty important if you're going to carry on over to new builds. A lot of times you'll put it in your image, but when we get to imaging, we can do some of that. I don't know if sleep was there before or not. I can't remember, to be honest with you. Actually, this should be, that one's there too, but I assigned it to it. Okay, so do we have notifications? Let's go look. Let's go. Notifications. Should be off. No, it's on. Did it run the policy? And did I do it right? It says it's effective. So if we got a couple minutes, let's do this. Let's go to logging, view log. What was the name of that one again? That one was Win 10, 1909. Okay, there we go. Assign to object. This is its GUID. It's not chained. So this GUID here is this GUID here. Let's go to summary. Ends with 00, 300. So it's applied. And let's go to the next one. So it's assigned to there's your policy manager. Your policy info. Actually, continue on failure. Okay, so that's the policy itself, what to do to enforce it. Each of the different settings. Okay, it's trying to enforce it. After it enforces it, it looks for a reboot. I didn't see it requesting a reboot. I'm not a GPO guy. I'm more of troubleshooting and getting through the code. So there's your system requirements. And it's going to look for a 1909 to make sure it applies a 1909 to 1909 and not something else. Here's adding effective policy list. Policy, so it's getting out there. It's probably just my configuration. It's version 0. You can also search on this guy. Previous enforced policies are. And this is what do we have going on here? Hang on. Oh, this is a policy. Now for GPOs, oh boy, this is going to set me back. Remembering where, so if we did run CMD GPU result /H. I'll just keep it there, GP report. So we should have under PCC users a report. That's fine. And we should be able to see our settings here. I don't know why I was trying to open that up. So we can see that we had apply GPOs. Hang on, let's go big again. Sorry, I'm squinting too. Let's go here. We can show. Nothing there to show. Okay. Use a policy refresh. I was expecting to see in here the different settings. GP results should show you that. Okay. Not seeing it. Why I'm uncertain. Let's do a GP update. Oops, my bad. All right, let's look. No, I do not see it. Applying. But as a keynote, GP report, GP, if you're a group policy person, you know GP result and GP update should give you what you're looking for. And then that's if I set my policy correctly. A little rusty on the Active Directory side for group policies. Major keynotes I really wanted to make sure that you're aware of is that when you're doing group policies, you have to build it per build, per OS, and that you can't open it with a different build. Okay, and then also reversing it. Critical that you have you're able to reverse what you've set, because if you turned off the start menu, make sure that you are able to turn it back on should you need to. Somebody else logging in, maybe it's just another login for a technician, will reapply that correctly, but just have a reversible because they get into the negatives. Enable this to disable certain things, you know, those types of things. So I hope that is clear as mud. So that's Windows 10. Any other policies that you'd like to see, or I mean, there's things that VPN enforcement, USB connectivity. The nice thing is you can tell it to turn off USB ports or a storage device, turning off storage devices except for certain devices and users, or having a USB connectivity policy which enables. There's a tool that if you go to here, let's see if I can get this one going. ZENworks tools, and if we go to administration tools, I think. We have there's the ZCC helpers. Not imaging. I honestly thought it was here. And it was a USB tool for that policy. Maybe it's not in here. You realize you could put different things in here as well. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. Scanner, right here. It is there. They've modified this to, yeah, there's your remote management. There's your endpoint and your full disk encryption. This is your scanner utility. I'm going to run it on this guy. I do not have a USB to put in it, but you can actually turn off your USB ports except for or have it deny all USB unless it's of a certain display scanner, device scanner. Oh, that's small, isn't it? Sorry, guys. And I can't get that any bigger. View toolbars. Sorry, but basically you could put, if I plug in a USB, it would show up here. And so basically you can have your technicians having a USB stick that they can still use even though the USBs are denied, right, for removable media. So we use this quite a bit because it's all coded and it'll pick it up. So you have a USB policy that'll recognize certain manufacturer or device class. Okay. Folder decryption, standalone decrypt, and then standalone decrypt admin. There's remote management and full disk encryption WinPE plugin. Which we'll be covering in a couple weeks, actually a month, I think. We're going to do WinPE. Okay, so there's a lot under the administrative tools over here that is very helpful. Your inventory only agents and then your regular agents. And any updates. If you had your certificate remints or those types of tools or agent stuff come in, they would be there. And then your ISD tool, which is your image safe data tool. We'll cover that when we do imaging. Okay, questions, comments. Did we give a roundabout cover on what policies are? The slide deck has, things that you need to watch out for, which is good. I hope I mentioned those enough so you're aware of that. I'll try and get my GPO. I should have done it ahead of time, get my GPO running so I can show you next time. But policies are real powerful, and with the extension of the endpoint security, even more powerful, getting very granular. You do have policy statuses here. So you can see that this one is targeted for 3 devices. It's pending on 3 devices. Maybe that's because it's not a reboot. They've improved the speed on the statuses so it's a little bit more accurate. But yeah, it looks like it applied on the device. I suspect it's just my policy. If we were to go back into it, I suspect it's just my policy is different. Now, if I should bring this back up, those settings should be there, if I remember correctly. Because it's set on this device. it just gathers those files from here. Windows settings. Oh, this is where I wanted to go. Yeah. It's application control. I should have went into Windows settings. I went into software and administrative templates. Okay. From there, that's your GPO editor. Just once you make changes and you close it, just give it a minute, and then it'll say, okay, before you hit upload, once you get this symbol or this prompt, now you can upload. It's ready to put the package up, and then it imports it. Okay, that's the one thing I know when I started, I'd click on that too soon, and it's like, it's not done yet. Be patient, Paul. Okay, policies. I mean, there's so much to chew on with policies. There's so many different policies. It's hard to, you know, nail down one or the other and know what you guys are looking for. Hopefully, I gave you a little more sampling of what's out there. Again, you can download this PowerPoint by clicking on the URL. I'll put it out there one more time. And if there's no questions or direct policies that we want to try besides the ones I gave ago, this is a schedule coming up. Database access and queries and tips. I will be moving between now and then to a temporary location again. I'm currently migrating over to out of California to another state, and um, so the 16th will be 2 days after I actually got there. So I'll need to test the internet and stuff as I get there. But this is what's coming up: database access queries and tips for Service Desk and ZENworks. Okay, we'll have both available to us. So if you have questions on either, I'll have a myriad of different queries so you can look. So have some questions ready saying, I'd like to query blah, right? Bundles, or I'd like to, how do I see the, um, how much size this bundle has. Of course, you can do it in ZCC, but there's also the calculation done on the database as well. But you know, who has what role when I have primary servers because I'm doing an upgrade? When I decommission this server, what do I need to look at for that? And you can do that in the database. So we have some queries to make that real simple for you. The other thing is service desks. What's your version upgrade? What are the steps that you took? So for history purposes, we can see that. What are these items certain items that need to be connected? How do we do that? Or what are we looking at? I seem to have this issue with this case, you know, that type of thing. So again, next time we're going to do some database access queries and tips. And then we're going to do some desktop containers admin studio. I got a big project going on right now with desktop containers, so I hope to be done by then so we can have some real live discussion on that and how we came to concluding and the different issues we ran into, primarily disk space, for that particular product. And then should a release come out, we're going to kind of dovetail that into our conversations. So I hope that works well for you guys. I appreciate you guys visiting today and being here. Again, thank you for your patience on the portal, the Microfocus portal. If you have any direct needs, immediate direct needs, let us know. But do try and get into your portal and be able to access your licenses and so forth, because they've redesigned it all. And you know that's a huge undertaking, but it also, we want to make sure you have what you need for your resources. We don't want you in the middle of an install and not being able to get to that license code or that download. Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything else. I'm hoping you guys stay safe out there. Thank you, Mr. Bosch. I appreciate you joining. Stay safe and keep smiling. Thanks all.